Imagine this, a sky dominated not by a familiar yellow sun, but by a vast, swirling giant of gas and storms. A world where night and day are swallowed by shadows. Where lightning flickers across a planet so immense, it could hold more than 1,000 Earths inside. And circling this titan are moons. Dozens of them, each a world of its own. Now, ask yourself, what if humanity had chosen one of these moons as our new home? What if our cities, our lives, our entire civilization rose beneath the shadow of Jupiter? This is not fantasy. It is a question of survival, of science, and of destiny. Tonight we journey into the impossible and ask, what if we lived on Jupiter's moons? Jupiter, the king of the planets. A colossus in the outer solar system, its pull shapes not only its own moons, but the orbits of entire planets. 4 of its moons stand above the rest. They are called the Galilean moons. Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. Each one a world larger or stranger than our moon. Each one a candidate for human settlement. But what would it mean to live there? How would we survive? And what would it do to us, to our culture, to our place in the universe, if we were no longer children of Earth, but tenants of Jupiter? To answer, let's begin with the raw environment. On Earth, we live in comfort compared to space, a breathable atmosphere, liquid water, a stable sun. None of this exists on Jupiter's moons. Here, everything fights against life. First, Jupiter itself. Its magnetic field is the strongest in the solar system, 20,000 times stronger than Earth's. Trapped within it are belts of radiation so intense, they could kill a human in minutes. If we were to live on Jupiter's moons, survival would depend on technology, radiation shielding, underground colonies, entire ecosystems built beneath layers of ice or rock. Life would not be on the surface, but beneath it. Among these moons, none has captured more imagination than Europa. It is a world of ice. Smooth, bright, fractured by red lines like scars across a frozen face. Beneath this icy shell, scientists believe, lies a vast ocean, more water than on Earth. If we lived on Europa, our homes would be carved beneath miles of ice. Subterranean domes, heated by reactors, shielded from radiation. Drilling machines would bore down into the crust, tapping into the liquid ocean below. And imagine, humanity's first encounter with alien life could happen here. In those dark oceans, untouched for billions of years, simple organisms might swim, perhaps even complex ones. A second Genesis, hidden beneath Europa's ice. Life on Europa would not just be survival, it would be exploration. Colonists would become scientists, probing the ocean with submarines, searching for the spark of life beyond Earth. But survival would come at a cost. Sunlight is weak at Jupiter's distance. Solar energy would be scarce. Nuclear power would rule. Agriculture would exist only in domed farms beneath artificial light. For children born there, the sun would be a myth, something told in stories of the old Earth. Then, there is Io, the most volcanic world in the solar system. A tortured land, its surface constantly reshaped by eruptions so powerful they can be seen from space. Could humans live here? Barely. Io is dangerous, unstable, flooded with sulfur and lava. Colonies would need to burrow deep into the crust, building cities like bunkers against an ever-erupting world. Yet I would offer something no other moon could: energy. Geothermal power harnessed from endless volcanic heat. Mines would dig for sulfur, iron, and rare materials. If Europa is humanity's frontier, Io is its furnace. Dangerous, but vital. But to live here would demand sacrifice. Colonists would face constant risk of disaster. They would not build cities of glass and beauty. They would build fortresses of steel and stone. Next comes Ganymede, the largest moon in the solar system, bigger even than Mercury. It has its own magnetic field, a shield against Jupiter's deadly radiation. Here, humanity could build something closer to a real civilization. Vast underground cities carved into ice and rock. Perhaps even surface domes shielded by magnetic defenses. Ganymede offers resources, water, ice, minerals, gravity stronger than most moons. It could become the capital of a Jovian empire. Imagine standing on Ganymede's surface. Above, Jupiter dominates the sky, immense and terrifying. Other moons drift like stars, visible with the naked eye. The horizon glows not with sunlight, but with reflected light from the giant planet itself. It is alien, but it could feel like home. Finally, there is Callisto, the outermost of the Galilean moons. Unlike the others, it lies beyond Jupiter's harshest radiation belts. If anywhere is safe for humans, it is here. Callisto could serve as a natural harbor for settlers. Its surface is ancient, cratered, untouched for billions of years. It is stable, predictable. Colonies on Callisto might resemble early Martian outposts, domes above the surface. Solar panels stretching across the ice. It would be less dramatic than Europa, less dangerous than Io, less grand than Ganymede, but it would be livable. In time, Callisto could become the gateway to the rest of the Jovian system, the place where settlers first land before spreading to the harsher moons. But let us pause. Life on Earth is fragile, yet perfectly tailored. Gravity keeps our bodies strong. The atmosphere shields us from radiation. The sun feeds our crops. On Jupiter's moons, every one of these gifts is absent. Living there would mean remaking ourselves. Technology would not just protect us, it would define us. Generations born beneath Europa's ice would grow up without stars. Children on Io would never know a safe horizon. Ganymede's settlers would live in the shadow of a planet so massive they might come to see it as a god. And slowly, they would stop being Earthlings. They would become Jovians. Let's imagine how this begins. Year 1. Humanity establishes a base on Callisto. Small, fragile, supported by supplies from Earth. Scientists study the moon, testing whether survival is possible. Year 10. Permanent colonies take shape. Domes and underground shelters expand. Mining begins. Callisto grows into a hub for exploration. Year 50. Europa's ice is cracked open. Submarines dive into the oceans below. First contact with alien microbes shocks humanity, rewriting our understanding of life. Colonies grow, shielded from radiation. Year 100. Ganymede rises as the capital. With its size and resources, it becomes the political and cultural heart of the Jovian system. Year 150. Io is conquered. Not with beauty, but with machinery. Its volcanic energy powers the colonies. It becomes the industrial furnace of Jupiter. Step by step, a civilization is born. A human presence, not on Earth, not on Mars, but on the moons of a gas giant, hundreds of millions of miles away. But survival is only the beginning. We saw Europa's hidden oceans ooze volcanic fury, Ganymede's potential as a capital, and Callisto's refuge at the edge of danger. But settlement is only the beginning. Now, we must ask, what kind of civilization would humanity build beneath Jupiter's storms? What kind of people would be born in such a place? And what would happen when they turned their eyes back toward Earth? Imagine a child born on Ganymede. They never feel the weight of Earth's gravity. Instead, their bones grow in a weaker pull, lighter, less dense. Their bodies stretch taller, thinner. To them, Earth's strength would feel crushing, unbearable. Now imagine a child on Io, raised in underground bunkers, hearing constant rumbles of volcanic activity. To them, disaster is not a rare event, it is a way of life. On Europa, children grow up beneath ice ceilings that block out stars. Their stories, their art, their songs would not speak of skies, but of oceans beneath ice. Dark, endless, mysterious. Step by step, generation by generation, the Jovians would become different, not only in body, but in mind. Culture is born from environment. On Earth, cultures grew around rivers, mountains, deserts. On Jupiter's moons, cultures would grow around survival in hostile worlds. On Io, a culture of endurance. People hardened, practical, unafraid of danger. On Europa, a culture of exploration and discovery. Scientists, philosophers, seekers of hidden life. On Ganymede, a culture of governance and ambition. Builders of cities, rulers of trade. On Callisto, a culture of refuge, pragmatic, cautious, always balancing survival with safety. Over time, they would stop thinking of themselves as Earthlings. They would not say, "We'll live on moons." They would say, "Why are Jovians?" But here lies the question, what happens when distance creates independence? Communication with Earth takes nearly an hour. 40 minutes for a signal to travel there and back. For politics, for war, for diplomacy, this is an eternity. Earth may claim authority over the colonies at first, but as Jovian settlements grow in number and strength, as their children have never touched Earth, loyalty fades. History tells us this truth. The American colonies broke from Britain. The provinces of Rome drifted from the empire. Distance breeds independence. One day, the Jovians would no longer accept orders from Earth. They would demand freedom. They would demand self-rule, and Earth might not be willing to let go. Picture this Earth, desperate for resources, sees Jupiter's moons as treasure troves of ice, minerals, and energy. But the Jovians see Earth as weak, dependent, clinging to an aging world. Conflict begins. Not with soldiers, but with supply lines, with trade, with information. Jovians control the fuel that powers deep space travel. They hold the key to expansion further into the solar system. A cold war unfolds between planets. Earth and its allies on Mars against the rising power of Jupiter and its moons. It is not simply a battle for territory, it is a battle for the future of humanity. Yet conflict is only one path. there is another, evolution. Living on Jupiter's moons would force humanity to change itself. To resist radiation, Jovians may alter their DNA. Genetic engineering becomes survival, not luxury. To withstand low gravity, exoskeleton suits or implants could become common. To see in the dim light, eyes might be enhanced, senses sharpened. Over centuries, Jovians might diverge so far that they are no longer quite human. Taller, thinner, paler. Their culture is shaped not by sunlight and skies, but by ice, darkness, and the looming shadow of Jupiter. Earthlings might one day look at them and wonder, are these still our people? Or are they something new? What does it mean to live under the gaze of a planet so massive, so ever-present, that it dominates the sky every day and every night? To stand on Ganymede and see Jupiter hanging overhead is to live in the presence of a god. Ancient humans worshipped the sun and the moon. Would Jovians worship Jupiter itself? Perhaps new religions would rise, centered on the giant planet. Temples carved into ice, ceremonies tied to the orbits of moons. To them, Earth would be a fading memory, a distant cradle, but no longer the source of meaning. And psychologically, how would humans change when they never see a true horizon, never feel unfiltered sunlight, never walk barefoot on natural soil? Would they become harder, more detached? Or would they create new myths, new rituals, to keep the memory of Earth alive? But humans are restless. Even beneath the storms of Jupiter, they would not stop. From Callisto, ships would launch outward, to Saturn, to Uranus, to Neptune. Each step further from Earth, each colony, less tied to the world we once called home. Jupiter's moons would become not just homes, but launch pads. The staging ground for the next great migration. From the gas giants to the edge of the solar system. From the edge of the solar system to the stars themselves. And when humanity finally builds ships to cross the void between stars, it may not be Earth that leads the way. It may be the Jovians. Let us walk through the centuries. 22nd century first colonies on Callisto, fragile, dependent on Earth. 23rd century Europa's oceans are explored. Alien microbes discovered. A revolution in biology. 24th century Ganymede rises as a center of power. A Jovian council forms uniting the moons. 25th century Jovians declare independence from Earth. Tensions rise. A solar Cold War begins. 26th century Jovians alter themselves genetically. Humanity begins to branch. 27th century, Saturn's moons are colonized, led not by Earth, but by Jupiter. 28th century Jovians develop ships capable of interstellar travel. Earth watches as its children leave forever. This is the long game, not survival, not just exploration, but transformation. So what would it mean if we lived on Jupiter's moons? It would mean humanity is no longer bound to Earth. It would mean we are no longer one species, one culture, one people. It would mean the universe would begin to shape us, just as Earth once did. We would not remain Earthlings. We would become something new. Children of ice, children of fire, children of Jupiter. And with that transformation comes a question far larger than survival: if humanity can be reborn on Jupiter's moons, if we can adapt, evolve, and thrive beneath the shadow of a gas giant, then what limits remain? We began with a question. What if we lived on Jupiter's moons? We found survival, we found culture, we found transformation, but we also found something else: inevitability. Because once we leave Earth, once we live on other worlds, once we adapt to environments that are alien to our nature, we cannot go back. Humanity's destiny is not to remain on one world. It is to scatter, to change, to become many things in many places. So perhaps the greater question is not what if we lived on Jupiter's moons,